We've never done it before, and you walk into these hundred smart, Aleki, I am Bangalore students. I have to say this, but it's a very entitled group of people. Why हमें क्यों पढ़ा रही है? हम तो we are already so smart, and why are we even here? And what time is lunch, and when is it getting over? It blows your mind when a girl writes to you from Afghanistan. You're good with people, you'll be good in an HR job, and I was like, yes, Papa. I had no idea. ठोकर खा के. And that
Hmm.
helped, because you put up a video, you put your life into it, you put your soul into it, and it doesn't do well. And that happened all the time. You know that. We all know
Yeah.
that. So initially, it was challenging, I must say. I hope the viewers listen to this part of your podcast. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you don't feel like a CEO at all. It's not you tried, you failed. No, no, no. It doesn't work like that. And one thing led to the other, and I found myself accidentally saying I would love to teach.
Today I am excited to bring in my next guest, Chetna Vasishth, who is a YouTuber and an amazing individual. Her own channel, ChetChat, has now close to 3.5 million subscribers, and her story on how she became a YouTuber is fascinating. So, if you are in content generation or looking to create content, you should not miss out this show. And without much further ado, let me get on with it. Hi, Chetna. Welcome to Masters Decoded Season 3 podcast. Really glad to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Anis. I've been watching some of the episodes you've done. Fantastic work, like I was saying, maybe this should be reverse. We need to know how you do this fantastic work. But great stuff, and thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you. And I'm sure my audience will realize why I say that it's an absolute honor as we go through this conversation, and the impact you've been having with many lives. But before we get to the impact you are currently doing, I just want to kind of go back a little bit, few years, where you started off your career in the banking industry,
Yeah.
and and how did that start, and what happened, and what got you into banking?
Yeah, so I always say, life has its own plans. You may have whatever, but somebody somewhere is laughing at you.
Yes.
So I wanted to become a doctor.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
I keep saying, in another life, maybe I will, but in this lifetime, it's a different kind of medicine that I'm practicing. But anyhow, so I moved on from there to do economics, went to do an MBA, joined the banking world, and education was a passion. I always somehow felt that that's something I wanted to do. So while I was still with the bank and I was in Bangalore at the time, I remember with StanChart had set up a new branch and I had sort of gone there to take care of it. And I walked into IIM Bangalore to talk about
Hmm.
placements and to say, I was with StanChart and I said, no, StanChart should be day zero, blah, blah, blah. And one thing led to the other, and I found myself accidentally saying I would love to teach. And the head of the marketing department was sitting at the other end, and he grabbed that opportunity and he said, we'd love to have people from industry come and teach. So, would you like to take a program? And I ended up saying yes. So
Wow.
that's where it began. And I actually used to go on Saturdays and Sundays to teach at IIM Bangalore while I was doing a Monday to Saturday job. So I was like, you know, it was difficult to create content while you were being this banker and all of that. But I did realize, and I was in this huge Three Idiots style auditorium, if you remember, and it was unnerving at the
Yeah.
start because we've never done it before, and you walk into these hundred smart, Aleki, I am Bangalore students
Yeah.
who are looking at you and saying, what is she going to teach us? And but I ended up feeling that this gives me. I would walk to my car and I would be singing a tune, and I felt that this is finally something that I am really deeply at many levels enjoying.
Hmm.
And that's where the bug set in. And then slowly I would keep that teaching on the side. And eventually I left my banking job and I did a lot of teaching. I set up a training company called Learning Tree. I went back to the bankers and did training, and then um, it was just about impact. I was finding myself huddled in classrooms and banking conference rooms with, I have to say this, but with a very entitled group of people,
Oh
the
yes.
bankers and the
Yeah.
MBA students who felt कि why हमें क्यों पढ़ा रही है, हम तो we are already so smart, and why are we even here, and what time is lunch and when is it getting over. So it was not joyful, and the whole sort of dream that I had built saying I'll teach somebody and I'll change their life turned out to be I'm standing there and they're saying, what time are we finishing.
Hmm.
So that's when I realized that I probably need to reach out to people who don't have easy access to all of this, and
Education.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, and they value it and they cherish it, and and we need to do it for free for them. And YouTube was a platform, very, very beautiful egalitarian platform that genuinely, big thanks to them that helped our voices reach out. And then the broadband, came about in a way that people from literally from small districts in the remotest part of the world could be watching you. And I can't say
Yep.
begin to say how amazing that is for someone like you and me to be able to reach those people. So
Agreed.
that's where the story actually started. And then you start getting feedback from, one of the biggest moments in my life was a girl wrote to me saying, I'm writing to you from Afghanistan.
Oh wow.
And she said to me that my parents don't even let me study, let alone give me money to study abroad. And she said she chanced upon one of my videos on an Erasmus Mundus scholarship to study in Europe. And she said, long story short, I'm writing to you from Austria. I'm studying here on a full scholarship. And it blew my mind. I was just making
Wow.
videos. I thought I was just doing some small time stuff sitting in front. I still think I'm doing small time stuff sitting at home, at home in front of a mic. But it blows your mind when a girl writes to you from Afghanistan saying, I'm in Austria. And I said, kudos to you, man. All power to you. I've done maybe just a iota bit, but amazing. You must have fought battles to be there. This video
Yeah.
can't be it. But then you realize that the little things have the so much joy you can bring into. You can, I don't know, you know it better than me. You said it to me when we were pre-recording, saying that ultimately you're doing it only just to change 10 people's lives, and you know it exactly what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
that's where we are today.
No, it's not just four people, five people. When I look at some of the comments on your YouTube channel and the impact you've been having on people's life is just profound. And more power to you as well. And keep doing that work. But I just want to. You spoke about you were teaching at IIM Bangalore. What were you teaching, or what did you start teaching as a visiting faculty or a visiting professor?
Yeah, so again, I keep saying life happens. I was a science student wanting to do medicine, moved on to studying an
Economics.
economics honors degree at Delhi University, went on to doing an MBA in HR because
Oh
my
wow.
father thought, yeah, my father said to me, and I was like 19 years old. He said, you're good
Hmm.
with people, you'll be good in an HR job. And I was like, yes, Papa. I had no idea. So I did an MBA in HR and I didn't like it. Sorry, all the HR people out there. I'm sure it's a great thing, but it just wasn't for me. Got
Yeah.
into a marketing role in the bank, and I was doing corporate banking, investment banking, and so when I went into IIM Bangalore, I was like, what am I going to teach? And they said, why don't you take a course on services marketing?
Hmm.
So it was fascinating because that's when I started learning about how the airlines and the hotels and all the services industries, how they do marketing, which is so different from what a McDonald's or a Domino's does. So that was the course I started with. But eventually I taught at about 20, 30 of these MBA institutes, and I eventually taught all the marketing courses from data mining to CRM to marketing
Wow.
101 to, every. consumer behavior to everything. Then you learn, and then
Yeah.
you learn and yourself, and the joy is also in that learning every time a new area. So yeah.
So from there you started your own company as well, Learning Tree. And what was Learning Tree focused on? Was it on language skills, or was it still on the core marketing skills which you
Yeah.
were
So
focused on?
again, series of things, like I say. Yeah, so you'll wonder why I'm teaching English. I had no background in English. I'm not an English student. I've never taught English. So when I set up Learning Tree, again it happened by accident. My ex-banking friends, the community was like,
Hmm.
Chetna, why are you teaching at these MBA schools? Why don't you come in and teach our bank employees something about banking? Because I don't want to be tooting my own horn, but I was doing reasonably well in the bank when I left. And I enjoyed it. So they said, listen, you're no longer doing it, but why don't you come back and do some programs for us at the bank? So I set up the training company
Hmm.
largely to provide training to banks. And by the time I had done so much marketing that I was doing key account management, wealth management training, private banking training. So all the sales teams in banks, whether they were facing corporate
Yeah.
clients or whether they were facing high net worth individuals, but all the sales and the relationship management teams of banks, those were the teams that I started training. And this company was largely about, just the training business, so to speak, that I would do. And then that did well too. Did work with about 20-25 banks in India and Dubai, and I was, all over traveling with a suitcase all the time for doing these 2-day, 3-day workshops here and there. It was great fun. But then I did tell you that, it I somehow felt I had to reach out to a greater audience and had more purpose to do rather than. But that was fun though. But
Interesting.
everything has a shelf life
Yeah.
and you enjoy everything to a point. I did it for about 8 odd years and it was fun, but I wanted to move on.
Hmm. But going from that teaching, where first of all you were teaching, like you said, like the three idiot type of classroom, like an auditorium, or like almost a C type of classroom, to going into corporate setup, which is a atypical, like a conference room, or teaching in that's kind of a setup, to facing a camera. I don't know about you, but I've always been camera shy. I can speak in front of people, I can give lectures and whatever, but facing a camera was a big step. Was that okay? I mean, was that okay for you? Was that natural for you, just standing in front of a camera and start talking to no one but to a device?
Yeah. When you're used to students and you're used to seeing their eyeballs and the response and the laughter and all of that, you miss it because you have somebody you think you've cracked a joke and nobody laughs back at you and you're like, what happened just now? But everything took a bit of learning. Frankly, I wasn't even a YouTube user when I started the YouTube channel. Forget about
Oh,
making a
wow.
video, recording a video, editing a video. I knew nothing. Zip, zip, zip. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I have to say that, that's one thing, one little thing I feel about things, and bring it on. हो जाएगा, we'll figure it out. We may not be the smartest cookie off the block. We may not be the first one to complete the
Right.
100-meter dash, but we'll get there at some point. And the journey is
Yeah.
fun. So I just decided when I set up the YouTube channel, I remember I told myself that I will edit my videos on my own simply because I just didn't
Wow. Okay.
feel that I should just get dependent on somebody and then not know what are the possibilities of this and how to even guide them if I don't know what to do. So I learned
Hmm.
editing. I remember YouTube had a space in Goregaon at that time. I was in Bombay. and I would go there and I would sit in these
Hmm.
classes where they would take color correction classes and 3-point lighting system classes, and I was the only one sitting there and a bunch of editors sitting around me, and I was copiously making notes on how to do color correction and how to do editing and sound editing and light
Wow.
this thing, and but I just felt I needed to learn. And the first 100 videos I edited on my own, and literally I waited for 100, and the 101st I had signed up this editor and I said, I'm going to give you only the footage for the 101st video. And even now, today, many times when the guy's on leave and this thing, I just pick up my Premiere Pro and I love it. I just sit and do my own thing on the video. So we learn, we're all beyond just that.
Nice. That's one of the biggest thing which I've never been able to get to is editing my own videos. Today I can't. I Meaning I know technology, I know how to use it, but I just can't get out of it. So meaning I've hired somebody who does it for me, and that helps. Even these podcast videos, they really help. uh, but when you think about the overall aspect of YouTube, learning that algorithm, learning how to post, when to post, what content would work, how are you able to get through that aspect? Like, it's a lot for somebody to learn, and you went full in. The good news is that you went all in, and that became a full time for you. While you were working as well, I understand you started your YouTube in 2015, which you had a great starting point, and much early on than many others who started after you. But understanding the algorithm, ये कैसा चलेगा, क्या चलेगा, titles, thumbnails, there is a lot of complications. It's not like just you can put up any video and it will work. How did you figure out all of those aspects?
ठोकर खा के.
Okay, nice.
If you meet somebody in YouTube and you ask them what is the algorithm, I doubt anybody will be able to give you that answer. I doubt, seriously doubt whether anybody really knows. And there is one formula. There's probably no one formula. It's probably
Hmm.
you know, like the stock exchange, open niche, every day based on response. They just so you live, you learn. The only couple of things which I said are going to be my North Star. One is that I will post a
Hmm.
video every Friday. And I have
Okay.
to say that in 8 years, so I have been able to do about 450 odd videos, which is roughly about 52 weeks into 8 years. So I can literally count on my fingertips the Fridays that I would have missed. So that was one thing which I decided that come what may. And that
Hmm.
helped, because you put up a video, you put your life into it, you put your soul into it, and it doesn't do well. And that happened all the time. You know that. We all know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now, if I sit and look at that and say, "वो क्यों नहीं चला? क्या हो गया? What about this? What is it not nobody done?" That's the end of it. वो नहीं चलेगा. So
Yeah.
I decided that, okay, the moment I put up the video, I've sent it into the black hole. And it's no longer mine. It's gone. Now the universe will
Hmm.
show it to whoever it needs to be and open it in front of whoever screen it needs to, whether it's that girl from Afghanistan or there was another girl. I'm digressing right now, but there was another girl who watched
No.
one of my interviews with Terence Lewis. And
Okay.
she came back and she was a prospective dancer, I remember, and she was struggling. And she told me, she says, I was thinking, contemplating suicide. And she
Wow.
said, I saw your video in which Terence, and the story of that man, he grew up literally in a slum, I'll say. Out of eight
Hmm.
children, his father was a mill worker and he was one out of the eight children. And from there, he says in the video, he told me, it took me 20 years to become an overnight success.
Hmm.
And she watched that video and she said, I watched that video of yours and I've decided that I will put in those 20 years before I call it quits and I will put my life and soul into it. I will not give up. So I'm coming back. So when your video doesn't do well, but you see these little sparkles of hope and you say, what is my next Friday? And then I'm always just thinking about my next Friday. I'm saying, oh, ho gaya, done. and that sort of keeps you going. Then you learn, obviously. Like I said, I attended a lot of workshops. Even now, today, I attend YouTube workshops. I think YouTube must be saying, "Okay, very few sort of 8-year-old YouTubers are still attending workshops." But I'm aware of the fact that there is even today, I am no expert. There is a lot left there which I don't know. It's just that I keep
Hmm.
making notes to self saying, okay, this keep in mind, that keep in mind. So there are a lot of notes stuck here, but there is a huge amount of learning still remaining. I mean, honestly, that will never end.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I continue to learn myself. And that's the best part, right, of creating content for platforms like these, where, your learning never stops because there's everything changing. And it's not just you who's creating, or I creating a content. There are so many of us who are creating content, and each one has its own unique style, had their own unique perspective. And what can become an overnight success and what may not become an overnight success, there's always that thought process, like, you can get to learn, not try to sulk to your point कि यार ये नहीं चला, वो नहीं चला, इतनी मेहनत करी ये वीडियो पे, 10 घंटे लगा दिए, 25 घंटे लगा दिए, but ये वीडियो नहीं चला, right? Rather than thinking in that way, we've been able to learn so much from each other, which is just profound, right? Like, everybody talks on the YouTube world, Mr. Beast, but he puts millions of dollars in one video, and it doesn't look like he makes money out of those videos also. So today, that is no longer his revenue generation. So talking about revenue generation, Chetna, that there are a lot of people I meet today, and like yesterday, I was talking to somebody, and he said, "Anis, क्या आप influencer बनना चाहते हो? आप content creator full time बनना चाहते हो?" And I said, "No, I don't want to." नहीं, ऐसे लग रहा है कि आप जॉब छोड़ दोगे और आप पैसा कमाना, इसी में पैसा कमाओगे. And I asked him, why are you asking me this question? Or why are we having this discussion? Because he was a work colleague. And he said, नहीं नहीं मुझे भी करना है. बोला, अच्छा, तो क्या लग रहा है आपको? I asked him, like, why, what is stopping you, or what is, no, I have this fear that पैसा मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा starting में, and all of that. So I gave him an advice, and I don't want to share what I gave, but I would love to give or get from you, like, what will be your advice, because some people have this perspective it is overcrowded market as well right now creating content. What will be your advice to somebody who's thinking of starting today?
Yeah, it's a big question because you're right. Every corner you go to, there are kids coming and asking you, "I want to become a YouTuber," and they they're not even looking for your advice. Actually, they're pretty sure they want to become YouTubers. So when I'm asked for advice, this is what I would say. I think a YouTube channel is like a startup, and
Yeah.
at this point, I would say do a startup only if you feel you have some idea or some concept or something which is going to change something which is already existing. So, don't just say, I want to start a channel and then I'll figure it out. So, you have to have a very, what is that compelling thing that I'm going to do, which right now most people are not doing. So, one, if you know that, what is that? And what is your real USP? Because 8 years back, you could be jack of all trades. Today, it's not going to be. Today, people come to you for a specific reason and they go to somebody else for a specific reason. So, what is that a specific thing that you are going to bring to the table? Now, that is just the beginning. The second thing that I would say to them is, do you have the staying power? If you fail repeatedly every Friday, in my case, every Friday, in your case, whatever, the frequency, if you
Thursdays.
fail repeatedly every Thursday at box office, you're failing. For my 99th video was successful. Okay, so let's just put perspective.
Wow.
99 Fridays later, I was 2 years later. Two
Hmm.
years of putting up stuff every Friday. The 99th video showed me a glimmer of hope. But do you have the staying power and the ability to keep doing what you're doing because you love it so much and you believe so much in it, even if you're failing repeatedly? If the answer is yes, do it. But if the answer is I want to make money, then there are better places to make money. There is a job, for instance. Job gives you a steady flow of money every month, and hopefully it'll keep increasing month on month. And I did a job with Byju's for 3 years, even though my channel was 5 years old, and I could have said, okay, no, I want to make. But I did a job and I ran my channel on the side.
Hmm.
So I would say don't do YouTube to make money. Do it because you
Yeah.
have the passion to do it and you have the patience and the determination to continue doing it because you love it so much. And then if you're meant to make money and it's meant to do well and all of that will happen. But if you want to
Yeah.
make money, I would say there are other places to go to.
No, same answer I gave him as well. I said if you feel, because people look at the greener side, right? Mr. Beast, and in India you would see Nitin Kamat's podcast, or Ranveer, or any of these folks, right? Like they have really become big, like you, right? You all have become big, but they were not big day one, right? It's taken a lot of hard work. It's taken a lot of sweat and blood, and a lot of uh, dejections and stuff. Like my channel as well. Today, I don't claim. I just feel that today is day one for me as well. I'm not there anywhere, and it's not, like I told you honestly when you asked me how's it going. I was like, I'm not looking to make money right now. I'm just putting it out there. So yeah, you're right. If people are coming with an intention that they'll be able to make it money, until unless they've cracked everything, the content, the script, the thumbnails, the algorithms, and all of that, and if they have a perfect recipe to make money, then go for it. But I don't think so anybody has figured that out yet. Anyone?
I don't know if there is anything like that. I'm not sure there is anything like that.
No, I
Perfect recipe.
no, even I've yeah, there is never a perfect recipe. Even when you make food, recipes never work, right? Sometimes, so it all depends upon
Yeah,
what works. But just changing
yeah,
gears a little bit,
yeah.
uh, and let's talk a little bit more about content and the ideas, right? You said you think about the next Friday now. You released your video yesterday. Now, where does that idea come about? Like, okay, अभी ये करना है, अभी ये बात करनी है. Is it a built up, or is it, I know you are now following certain themes, which is language and specifically English. Yesterday's video was amazing, by the way. If people haven't watched it, they should watch it. I learned a lot, because I do apologize a lot and I do say sorry a lot, by the way. So that's something which I'm working on, and your video really helped me to understand and probably use different themes. But how do you build that content idea or content calendar for yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So, things have changed over a period of time. I started the channel with study abroad as the theme because at that point in time I had done a lot of work in the area of study abroad. And then from there,
Hmm.
slowly I realized that it was a small niche. Anyway, so you move from one niche to the other. I'll come answer your question. I'll also answer in the meantime another question that you had asked me earlier about how did English happen. So I'll answer that and I'll answer this together. Uh, I,
Sure.
like I said, was never trained in English, but I was doing my channel in English. And there was a huge pressure coming from the audience that आप हिंदी में बात करो, आपको तो हिंदी आती है. Because many times they would hear me talk in Hindi and I'm a North Indian, I speak very fluent Hindi. But
Hmm.
I didn't feel I wanted to create content in Hindi. It just wasn't giving me that feeling that this is what I want to do. And I know that it is tempting to create. I know the same thing that today, if I had 3.5 million subscribers, yeah, if I had made the channel in Hindi, this could have easily been 8 or 9 million. That also I'm aware of. But I didn't want to. I said, this is a beaten path, sab karenge. I want to be different. I want to cater to that audience who is an aspirational English learner. And then I realized that why don't I teach them English? If that
Hmm.
is the area of struggle, instead of me moving into Hindi, why don't I teach them English? Because if that's the problem, they definitely want to learn English. So that's how it started. And the first few English videos took off, and it just happened timing wise that the I started teaching English pre-COVID, and in COVID everything went through the roof. So English was the one that went through the roof, and I thought this is what people want me to do. And then I sort of toggled between study, uh, routines and English. And I persistently found that my English videos were doing better than. So then you just go with, what the audience wants. If they want you to teach English, then that's it. That's what you want to watch. I love it, and I teach differently because I'm not a teacher. So I'm not going to teach you the way the teacher teaches
Yes.
you, and that's what probably they enjoy. And I learned so much as well.
Yeah.
So now the question is, how do I get my next topic? So one is I've sort of told you how the broad theme shift happened, but how do I get to the next topic? So two things, very simple things, which all of us do. One is, of course, I do analyze while I'm saying I go into a black hole. That's more an emotional thing, but I do analyze it, what is doing well, and I do objectively go back and look at my videos if they don't do well. And I'm a very good critic for myself. I'm able to identify कि यहाँ पे ये चीज नहीं होगी ठीक or something, and let me change it. So that's one way I pick up, and then I read all the comments, and that will surprise you. But I read literally every comment on the channel. I read. I try to respond to a lot
Wow.
myself, and that no, I have a team of 5 or 6 people, but the comment responding business is mine. And I will never give
Wow.
that away to anybody
That's
else
interesting.
because that is my ears to the ground. And then
Hmm.
they tell me, teach me this, teach me that, ye karo. And then I start seeing a pattern, to 3, 4, 5 people asking for the same thing and stuff. And then, of course, there is, because it's the education field, there is an annual calendar. So right now, for example, is all time low because there's World Cup and Diwali that's
Hmm.
come together. So nobody wants to study. So there's an
Yes.
annual calendar. There are
Yeah.
exams. There is a time when they want to prepare. There's a time when they want to do summer holiday related stuff. So then we also have to attune ourselves to their annual calendar. And so broadly, 1, 2, 3, uh, the calendar gets built.
Hmm. Interesting. So, when you read your own comments, the point which you made, sometimes these comments can be not good. And I'm not talking about trolls here. I'm talking about comments which can be nasty. And you said you are a self critique to your own work. So how do you balance that out? Like, what
Yeah.
you critique your own self, you take it at a certain level, but when somebody else does that at a very derogatory or in a nasty way, how do you balance your mind that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So initially, it was challenging, I must say, because it
Hmm.
takes a while for you to get your head around it. Initially, when people would say, "Okay, you know, what do you even know that you're trying to teach us?" And
Hmm.
who are you, and all those kind of things. And then there'll be a lot of personal comments which girls tend to get. So there'll be comments about your appearance, etc., which also will come. So initially it was challenging. I remember I used to get very worked up or sad or upset, and that comment would linger in my mind saying, why did this person say this? But
Yeah.
now I've been able to sort of categorize it into a couple of categories. The personal physical appearance based comments I ignore largely. I just keep saying that, okay, that's a kind, and ignore it. When it comes to the other content, there's a lot of love. A lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Disproportionately, I would say that, there's no number I'm putting there, but the largest volume of messages that I get is sheer love, thankfulness, gratitude. And I can't tell you how it is my biggest reason why I'm continuing to do what I do. Now there, let's talk
Hmm.
about critique. Critique can be genuine critique, but given in a harsh way. So I try to look for the
Right.
messages. What is it exactly that they are not liking? Because I don't disregard anybody. If they say I didn't like something, I give it a lot of thought and say, okay, what is it that they would not have liked? Did they not like my style of teaching? Did they not like my style of talking? Did they not like something? Somebody says कि आप teacher लगते नहीं हो, आप ऐसे कपड़े क्यों पहनते हो? Then I ignore that. But if somebody
Right.
says to me that, the way you explained present tense in this confused me, then I look at that
Hmm.
video, I go back, I watch the video to that point, and actually, I mean, I hope the viewers listen to this part of your podcast, because genuinely, if they tell me I didn't understand that point in the video, I go back, I watch it, and I say, "Kya samajh mein nahi aaya hoga?"
Hmm.
And I really
Hmm.
watch and rewatch, and I say, okay, maybe I need to simplify things a little more next time. So it's the way I learn, and I don't
Nice.
take it lightly. If they tell me you've made a mistake, which I do sometimes, I'm in one or two videos, and one of my very big videos recently, it's gone in 2 months, it's crossed 1 million. It's on tenses, and at one point, I have made a mistake. I've said the right thing, but the text on screen is wrong.
Hmm.
Because while editing, something went wrong with the text on screen and I didn't check. Now obviously it's a mistake, I can't say
Right.
it's the editor's fault, it is my mistake, I should have checked anyway. So it went wrong, I've said it correctly. So the many children pointed out saying कि इस point पे आपने ना जो लिखा है वो गलत है. And I acknowledge it, and I always say thank you for telling me. I really appreciate that you're watching it and you know what's right and you're pointing it out. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry. Next time I'll be more careful. So I don't think this is criticism. I think this is real stuff. This, if this is not happening, then they're not
Yeah.
watching.
Yep. And your critiques are your sometimes your best customers, right? Or your best, in our case,
Yeah,
the best community members who help us grow
yeah,
because they are giving. First of all, they're taking time out to give us feedback, and second is they care for us, and that's why they are openly sharing it with us. So and your approach towards it is
yeah,
profound. I have had a lot of conversations with other uh, creators, I would say, and it does hurt them emotionally. But like you rightly said, right, they are able to overcome and look at it objectively and see that there is love in this. It's not just that's why I said the trolls and the nasty ones, uh, they need help. That's I would just put that in, probably. But the ones who are definitely providing critical feedback, there is love in there. It's not
yeah,
just critical feedback.
yeah. And
Talking
all
about
these
community.
platforms have a beautiful. Sorry, I was just saying all these platforms have a beautiful feature called block. So I
Yes.
mean, it's easy.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Okay,
Definitely.
sorry.
Even I have done that for a few of them. They, they they come with an intention, and you have an intention that you want to keep it clean, and you can always block them. But talking about community now, now this new thing specifically is becoming bigger and bigger, especially around content creators, people who are creating content. Is about how do we capitalize on community. What are you trying to do now? Because you have a good base of millions of followers. People will write books so that the community gets better. There are people who would. Have you been approached to write a book or build a community around what you already have?
Yeah, paid courses, books, all of these are a natural extension of the work we do. So I have recently come out of my job with Byju's, and
Hmm.
up until now, I didn't have the bandwidth to think about any of this. I was just happy with the channel the way it was, and I was doing the job, and it was sort of a full time, 7-day occupation. But now that it's been a few months now, and I'm now sort of thinking about how to do it, how to get. Ideally, you're asking me, and I'm being very honest. I don't like charging my audience for anything because my intent was that I want to give this content free of cost.
Right.
So I need to wrap my head around this as to how we can create value for students, and we can do, because we all need that monetization as well, because that's what
Yeah.
keeps you keeping the quality going and keeping, the whole ecosystem thriving. So I don't have an answer right now, but it is something I'm thinking about. But I've started engaging with the community much more now. I do a daily quiz, for example, on my community tab, and a lot of students. So I had one day a quiz which 45,000 students answered. And it's a
Wow.
simple English question that I ask. So every day I do that. So I'm just engaging the community a little bit more into a formal learning mode. And I literally, maybe the next time we meet on a podcast, I may have something to say, but right now it's very early for me to give you this answer at all.
Okay. Now, when you were doing still a job till this time, right? And now you have your own employees. So you were an employee for another company, and you are an employer of other employees, right? You have a team of 5 or 6. So how are you able to balance both? Because switching on from being an employee to being a CEO, it's a constant, and it happens with me. I do employ a couple of folks on my own because I have to manage the content and content generation piece uh, with my work as well. So how are you able to switch your minds between the two, because those two hats are very
Yeah,
different hats?
very different hats. It's a very good question you've asked. You know, there's been so much learning for me in these 3 years. I was an employee, I became an entrepreneur, I became an employee again, and then I'm back to being an entrepreneur. So I've been in those modes in and out.
Yeah,
And the one thing I learned, you know, I'll tell you when I joined Byju's, for instance, I found that people who've been in jobs, always
yeah.
been in jobs, have a very
Hmm.
manager mindset.
Yeah.
You know, they are not so concerned about their own skill sets. They are
Hmm.
more concerned about, can I increase my team size? Can I get the next position? Can I, get a larger territory? So when I see that, and I've come in with an entrepreneurial mindset, and I realize that there is nothing like a designation or a territory or anything. It's all about your
The
skill
impact.
set and what you bring to the table. Even you could be, so I was vice president, head of content marketing. It was a senior position, and I could have sat on my laurels and just given a few instructions. Of course, it doesn't work
Hmm.
like that, but I'm just saying I could have sort of been a very hands-off manager kind of person. But because I was an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur, you asked a question of how do you toggle between being an employee and CEO. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you don't feel like a CEO at all. You feel
Yeah.
like, you're the bottom, say, leke the top, you are everything. There's no feeling of entitlement at all. So now you've come with that of you knowing. So like I said, I used to edit my videos and so the whole chain of work I was supervising as an entrepreneur. Then I walked into an organization where at one point I had 330 people under me. And
Wow.
I was as hands-on as I am. I would be all about the skills. I would sit with the edit, I would sit with people, I would sit with the animator, I would sit with the writer, with the physics teacher, with the biology teacher, and we would discuss the details and look at the data and then fine tune and then talk details. I was never about, big picture. I was all about those on the ground things that we could do. And I realized that I was very different from the other managers. And I have to say this, but my team was fond of me because they knew that she's coming from a place of knowing
Yeah.
what feedback she's giving us. She has done it, tried, tested, and she's giving us actionable inputs. And I would let them learn because I had learned my own way. So when they would come and tell me, Chetna, can we do this? I would tell them, see, it's YouTube. You have to try. Unless you try, you will not know. Don't trust me. Because
Yeah.
what worked for ChetChat may not work for Byju's. There's no formula.
That's correct.
So we must try, and they would love it because I would give them full authority to try. And if they didn't do well, which many times would happen, they would come back sheepishly and saying, I tried. I said, that's all right. The
Hmm.
success and failure is a different thing, but if you don't, my problem is if you stop trying. So
Yeah.
please keep trying, and whatever are the learnings, put them on the table. All of us are going to share the learnings
Hmm.
and we will keep it. And it's not personal. It's not you tried, you failed. No, no, no. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It is experiment, it is learning, and we all learn and we all grow and we all look at it with a fine tooth comb. So I feel today, if somebody were to ask me, I feel entrepreneurs make very good managers because they know how to work, they are hardworking, they know the top to bottom of everything, and they know sensitively how to manage people and get the best out of them also because they have not had the luxury of having 300 people. So they really appreciate people and the work that they do.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I've answered your question, but it was an interesting sort of in and out of being a manager and a entrepreneur.
No, so no, so are you looking to get into another job? Or are you looking now? Okay, let's make ChetChat a a bigger one now.
Yeah, the intent is right now. It'll take a lot for somebody to get me into a job, you know. And I did actually.
Okay.
I have to say that Baiju also persisted for 3 months, and I was like, I
Hmm.
don't want to join. I don't want to join. And then, literally, he was on a Zoom call with me, and he said, Chetna, you can do it. You can try it. Give it a shot. So it took a lot, and even today I know that it'll take a lot for somebody to convince me to take a job. But my focus is entirely now on ChetChat. I really want to. There's a lot left to be done.
Oh
It's
yes.
not big by any standards, or it hasn't done everything that it can possibly do. So
Yeah. No, and if you look at stories like Physics Wala and all of them, like who grew from YouTube, right? And they originally started, even Baiju started with just putting out content free, and then it became what it is today. Um, that's one path. And the other part is my favorite, which is Khan Academy, right?
oh
Sal
yeah,
Khan,
oh yeah,
right? He's my idol, right? If I ever
I,
have to, there is a teacher in me as well, and if I ever think that, hey, if that's my retirement, I would probably do what Sal did, right? Do it
yeah,
non-profit rather than do it for profit.
yeah,
Uh, right, so and that's something which is always a piece, right, where should you do it on your own platform or should you do it on a platform like YouTube, where you may be giving it out free but you do get money because of the AdSense and all of that, and people who are watching it, they invariably are paying you by watching the ads also. So does that thought cross your mind? I know you don't want to charge people, right? And you made that
yeah,
statement, but
yeah.
there is this aspect to it that they are paying by their time watching that ad.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the Sal Khan reference because it ties in with what I just said to you, that not charging, doing it for free is closest to my heart. If you're telling me today to go the uh, physics wala way, with all due respect, everyone has a different life path, and I am no
Yeah,
one to determine. But that is not my chosen way to go. Scale and revenue and millions of dollars of valuation doesn't make me feel like that's my purpose in life.
yeah,
So I will do what I do, uh, deeper, better, but reach out to more people and try the Sal Khan route. I know it's a big, lofty person we are looking at, an amazing guy. We
yeah,
never sort of even get to be his shadow, but he's a great role model.
yeah. He is, and his platform is one of the most sophisticated platforms uh,
Yeah,
people would imagine, right? Like the learning paths which it has created, the teacher paths, the student paths, is just beautiful. Like the way he's put that energy in it
yeah,
to build something so
yeah.
profound.
Yes, I was saying that question of yours, I left behind the platform, your platform or YouTube. So you answered it. The way Sal Khan has been able to give you, YouTube is a great platform, but unfortunately the navigation is not uh, complete for a student learning journey on YouTube. They may not be able to complete it as effectively as they could on your own platform. So that is definitely a wiser choice from a learning perspective. But
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, no. I was getting to the point that uh, for an education system to be benchmark, I think his platform is the gold standard, at least in my mind, right? No disrespect to any other education platforms, but his platform is a gold standard for me at least.
Absolutely. And can't me go the latest AI, tool that he's brought out?
Yeah.
Mind blowing, wasn't it? And I
Yes.
think he's brilliant, he's dedicated, he's apart from a brilliant mind, great communicator, great human, great sort of passion, dedication. He's a boon for our planet, I think.
Yes, he is. And boon for many children. I tell many grown-ups today, right? Khan Academy is not just for children, it's for us also. So if you want to learn the basics of maths, which people forget pretty quickly, it's the best platform to do. So uh, if it's a question which I ask people, if you had to restart your YouTube today on the path which you are, right? It got you probably 5 to 8 years. Like you said, it took you 99th video to get where you are, or that to get a first hit, and then you've had subsequent hits after that. If you had to restart today, Chetna, what would you do differently?
You know, it's been a winding journey. I've thought about this a couple of times that, we've made a lot of mistakes, and if we had to do it again, what would we do?
Hmm.
Um, I hate to say that I think if I have to restart, I may end up on the wrong path. I'll tell you why. Because if I go back 8 years
Oh,
and if I have this feeling that I have to do well sitting in front of me, I may not have chosen this journey of going English teaching, this hard way of no sort of jokes and games and, uh, um, the tempting route of YouTube would then sit in front of me all over again. And I would have to
hmm.
make the choice all over again of not going down that path. See, I have not gone down the very tempting and the large paths of YouTube, which is, comedy, uh, beauty, and, all of this gaming and all the Hindi. And there's a lot of tempting large roads in front of you, which
Yeah.
I have sidestepped. And if I go back 8 years, my fear is I hope I don't go down one of those paths because I don't want to. So, in
Hmm.
a sense, to answer your question, I would say that I'm proud of the hard route that I have taken, and mm, I hope when I go back I would do the same thing again because this is the hard way, and this is what I really want.
Yeah. There's also a temptation for many YouTubers, which I see, that let's start a second channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you do
I've
that?
also I've also come to that point many times. Let's start a second
Hmm.
channel in Hindi because the content is already there. All you need to do is to dub it in Hindi.
Yeah.
So, well, ah, I feel like I just need to do more teaching, more learning, more students, and not worry so much about how to monetize it. Do I need two channels? Do I need
Hmm.
a course? Do I need a this? Do I need a so you can put your mind in one out of two directions. The moment you start putting it into monetization, it sucks your brain and your focus there. I don't want
Yeah.
to put my mind into that. I'm like, I'm fine. I just want to put my mind in what is that next English topic that I want to create. As long as my mind is only in this place, I think I'm in the right
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. No, Chetna, this has been a wonderful and an awesome conversation. And it's sorry if I've picked your brains in many. See, I said I say a sorry a lot, and I did say it right now. And I'm trying to learn from your video, and I'll be a good student to you. Uh, and I loved what you've been saying. Kids and students. You've used that word. So when you're putting content, you've taken the avatar of a teacher, and you're looking at all your audience as a student. So I am your student
Oh
also.
my God, so sweet.
Uh, so no, but it's been a wonderful conversation, and I picked your brains in many different directions. And thank you for being a complete sharing your perspectives in complete honesty and transparency. And I've loved this conversation, and I'm sure the audience would have gone through this video and seen the other side of Chetna through this conversation as well.
But thank you, Anisa. I really need to thank you because you started by saying that this is just like we're having coffee, and it feels like that. I've been on several podcasts where it feels like a forced conversation, but this we could go on for hours, and it's just so
Yes.
natural. So kudos to you, really, again. You do this so beautifully, and may you continue to share wonderful stories with people and continue to build this amazing content. So, a lot of credit to you, and thank you for having me on your show.
No, thank you. Thank you, Chetna. Thank you for your valuable time. And take care, and look forward to your next content on next Friday.